And welcome again to the Dave LewAllen podcast. We cover sports stories, newsmakers, and difference makers in our community. A very important topic today, and that is literacy. And that is an issue in the state of Michigan and across this country. Sad as it is to say that, it is a fact. To talk about that and a program that helps combat illiteracy is Pamela Good. She is the CEO and co-founder of Beyond Basics. And Pam, it's great to have you here. Thanks for the time. What is Beyond Basics?
Oh my goodness, you probably wonder about the name. What does that have to do with literacy? We started out as an academic enrichment program in Detroit schools, and hence Beyond Basics. And about 4 years into it, we realized that kids couldn't read, and our board actually wanted to maybe rename us to Back to Basics. But we are Beyond Basics, and considering we're one of the few organizations helping to get kids reading K-12 at grade level, we are Beyond Basics.
All right, and literacy. How big a problem is it in our state, and how big a problem is it across the country?
I believe that it ranks up there with one of the number one national crises in our nation. There was an article out of the Telegraph of the United Kingdom about 3 or 4 months ago where they said quite plainly that America's educational system is going to unravel a superpower. It is a silent epidemic, and it is really stealing and killing the futures of our children and our nation along with it. It's the reason we do not have a workforce. It is a reason that we have so many people incarcerated. And it needs to be fixed, and there's a solution. And that's what we're here to talk about.
All right, so give us some idea, reading at grade level. I mean, we have all these tests, in high school, right? Assess this, assess that. What is the report card as it relates to literacy and reading at grade level? Because that's really through the program, which we'll get into the specifics, that's what you're trying to attack, right? That grade level deficiency in terms of reading.
Exactly. I think that there's one stat, right? Because this is every state and there's variations of it, but we're all very similar in the shortfall. This snuck up on us all at the same time decades ago. But the number one state in education across America is Massachusetts. And they can only claim 40% proficiency for 8th graders.
40%.
So if you want to know how bad it is, that is how bad it is, that the number one state in education. And our work proves that these middle high school students are able to learn to read. Our work proves, along with Mississippi Miracle now in the K-3 space, that phonics and decoding works. There is a solution. And so the problem at the moment is, why isn't it being embraced?
Governor Gretchen Whitmer, in the final year of her administration, says literacy will be her number one priority. Didn't happen in year 1, 2, or 3, but it's going to happen in year 8. That's got to be a positive thing. If people are maybe too late, but rallying to the call.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I had the good pleasure of being at the Literacy Summit that was held early in December and hearing her for the first time say that, she wants this last year to be the focus. The number one priority is literacy. And I'm very thankful for that. I'm hoping to have a conversation with her because it was under her leadership, really, that she approved a budget to expand us around the state. And that pilot ended just last June. And we have amazing results showing K-12 expanding us into 3 uniquely geographic areas around the state. All of the superintendents, parents, children, all advocate that this works. And so I'm hopeful that, she'll take a look at that and just continue the work. We don't have to rebuild. We just need to roll out.
All right. So before we get into some of those details, rolling this out, how did this begin? And my understanding for you is it was taking winter coats to kids at a school in Detroit, and then through conversation, through time spent, this move to, you know, reading comprehension and literacy and issues there. Tell me about that story. This was 1999 we're talking.
Yeah, I was talking quite a while ago. I didn't have any idea that there was a reading crisis. Literacy wasn't a passion of mine. I had children that were in elementary school, and as part of Eastover Elementary's annual initiative for community service, we donated coats to Herman Rogers Academy in Detroit. And I was the head of the community service area, and it was my job to gather up these coats and, end up taking them to the school. I'll never forget driving to the school that day by myself with all these coats in the van and turning off onto the Joy Road exit right off the Southfield Freeway and heading over to Herman Rogers Academy, which was K-12, and walking into the school at that time. I went into the high school and a little bit overwhelming. I'm not that tall of a person, and but
And some of those kids are.
yeah, and some of those kids are, and they move fast. But Dale Thomas was a reading resource teacher at the time, and she showed me around, which I think is so fascinating. But I left there that day, and I knew just by driving into the community, the poverty, I could see it. And I learned that day that the kids didn't really have art and music and computer class and some things that my kids had at their school. And also, they said they didn't really want them to go out at recess because they were afraid for the students. So I left that day and I really just said a prayer. I said, Lord, they need much more than coats. And I just said, I'll do more. And, I think when there's such need and you're praying that you will do more, that God finds a way. And so there are a series of events that happened after that that allowed us to pilot a publishing center. We took my son's fifth grade class down to the school and they published books for the second grade class, a program that we had operating in our school, weekly. We ended up doing art with the masters and Make a Difference days. We still get coats on kids now. 25 years later, kids still need coats that are attending school. So we started out as Beyond Basics. We just went in and we had a room, an enrichment room, and it would be junior great book clubs, reading buddies, publishing centers, and that's what we were known for. And once we were funded to do that program every day in the schools, we started to see that the kids can't read at all. And that was the beginning of trying to figure it out.
All right, so kids can't read at all in that particular Detroit school, but it's not that school alone. Clearly, you came to know that the problem was much larger than just beyond the walls of that school. But, whose fault is it? I mean, is it parents not reading to kids? Is it teachers not teaching reading or not knowing how to teach reading? I mean, where did this start?
I think it's all of our problems. If you're a taxpayer, it's our problem. And I would say that there are a lot of things that have snuck up on us over the last 40, 50 years that ended up being bad seeds. And in the beginning, it didn't look that way. And one of those bad seeds is when the universities decided to do away with phonics and roll out whole language. And when they did that, everybody thought, how wonderful, our kids are going to read better. But they really took out the foundational components of that. And it really has gotten worse over the years. Most people believe that America's foundation of education is still reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Supposed to be, right?
It is now whole language, no cursive, and new math.
Yeah.
They have stripped the foundational components that allow us to go out into the world and, have some commonality and to learn and to grow. And so I think that there are lots of issues. We've had a lot of societal issues. We've had, women in the workforce now and schools feeding children and running latchkey pre and end of day, beginning of day. So the schools have had a lot of pressure to just take care of. and lost some focus about the accountability. So I think we've become a blaming society. I mean, one of the first things people say to me is, "Isn't it the parents' fault?" And so I just say that if you're blaming, you're not solving. And we need to get past that because it is a mess.
Mhm.
And the people in the cities and even in the suburban schools now, we have illiterate children everywhere attending school. And we need to come together, get going, embrace solutions, and be part of what changes things for the positive. Michigan has an opportunity to be a beacon of light for the nation in K-12 literacy improvement, and we need to embrace that opportunity.
Well, in part because Beyond Basics founding is here,
Mhm.
and you've been at this for a long time
Yes.
now.
We have proof.
You have proof, yes, and through
Yes.
numbers as well, and
Mhm.
the numbers of students whose uh, you know reading comprehension skills has increased. Um, that's demonstrated fact through the program that you're going to tell me more about
Mhm,
and
mhm,
how it works exactly.
mhm,
But you have demonstrated success.
mhm. And they're walking around right now.
Yeah.
You know, there's the Jacob Duras that was able to go to U of M and graduate and, you know, working at General Motors and Google and, just Elijah, he's a little Val now, he's
Hmm.
married and has a baby. And Jade Hill, she's writing her first book and it's ready to hit, and so she was in our publishing centers when she was 8 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
And so we have people that have benefited by this. And they are those voices out there that hopefully will rally in this hour, get behind our governor. And I've even heard that Speaker Hall has said in the last few weeks that literacy is his number one priority. For us to have a bipartisan unity on this on behalf of our children, that's a miracle in and of itself. And so let's embrace another miracle and get kids reading.
Yeah. All right. Let's take us through the program Beyond Basics. This is one-on-one instruction
Mhm,
with a student
mhm,
in a school. I
mhm,
mean, that's the basic idea, right? And is it every day? How long does it last?
mhm,
Tell me exactly how that works.
mhm. Well, from the very beginning, we were in the school during the school day.
Mhm.
Quite frankly, it was when I had time. I would drop my kids off to school. I would go downtown. I would be in their school helping kids there and then get home in time to pick them up.
Mhm.
So we anchored in and became part of the community. And so whether it's the enrichment programs or it's the tutoring, the schools give us a room to run our programs out of. It's one of the reasons that this rolling this out can work so quickly because we don't need an infrastructure. It's there and the kids are already showing up.
Mhm.
And so once we have an agreement with the school, they give us a room, we send a team, a site lead, and then tutors into that room, maybe 10, 12 of them, depending on funding. It could be more or less. We work with the teachers. They send the kids they want us to assess and we assess them. We triage them. Some will need maybe a week, and others will need 18 weeks. There's different levels of reading deficiency. We tutor them. We pair them one-on-one with tutors. We do roll out our enrichment programs through it. It's
Mhm.
wonderful for kids, to learn vocabulary and comprehension and help them with reading and writing as they learn to read. And then we assess those kids before they leave. And the schools actually assess them then because they have their iReady tests pre and post.
Mhm.
And so we can show them the reading growth, but they're really looking to see the growth that that student makes on their academic scores. And it is exponential. Where they would expect 4 points of growth, we're helping kids achieve 21 and 35 because it's showing in every class in reading and
Yeah.
science and math. They get that uptick because they can read. And so we've named this the gold star standard of reading proficiency. It's an assessment. You have to know how far they're behind to help
Mhm.
them. It is one-on-one tutoring, and it is a phonics-based curriculum. With those three components, you will very likely get grade level movement in an average of 6 weeks.
And some kids will need multiple grade level improvement, right? Given where they
Yes.
start from based on your assessment.
Yes, and some kids will move 7 grade levels in
Wow.
6 to 10 weeks. You know, some of the older kids are just missing a little something,
Hmm.
right? We've I did an analysis on testing and of all of our high school kids, and it turns out that 50% of all the kids that we've assessed in high school over the last decade, 50% of them come in reading at 5th grade or below. So think about that. You're in high school, nobody's really talking about it, but you could be reading at a second, a third, a fourth, or fifth grade level, and they're expecting you to do your
Yeah.
high school work. And so when we work with those kids, there could be something very small in the
Hmm.
way.
Hmm.
They may have a great vocabulary, and so they may be 5, 6, 7 grade levels behind, and in 4 to 6 weeks, we can get them reading at grade level. So every student, it's just different for each one, and once we can work with them one-on-one, we can isolate that and get them back into the classroom as a reader.
Because one thing you had mentioned too, speaking is different than
Mhm.
reading, right? I
Mhm.
mean, you might be able to, but can you read?
Mhm.
Can you comprehend
Mhm.
what's on the page? Two different things.
Absolutely. Many of those are adults now.
Yeah.
I'll go out in the world, they'll hear what I do, and they'll pull me aside and say, "You're not going to believe this, but I don't read well," is how they say it.
Yeah.
And we're able to assign them a tutor. I would like to add, though, that since COVID, we have done this work online. We worked for DPS,
Mm.
Detroit Public School Community District, during COVID, so their kids could get one-on-one intervention from us during that 2-year time period. And it's turned out to be a beautiful way to reach kids. We also are in the workforce space now, kids that have aged out of
Mm.
high school that end up in workforce programs like Team Up. We've been doing work in the juvenile centers, partnering with Children's Village, and in Kalamazoo, they have a center there. So these children all need to learn to read, and when they can start taking advantage of schools and the other resources that we have to help them navigate society.
Um, how many over the years now that
Mhm.
Beyond Basics has been in the schools working? Uh, I mean, how many lives have been improved in that regard?
Mhm.
We're talking thousands.
Yeah, definitely thousands. I think for us, we're still doing a lot of the little things,
Hmm.
the getting a coat on a child, the publishing a book with a child, the artwork, the Make a Difference Day. So, in terms of reaching kids through a variety of programs, we're well over 150,000 kids
Yeah,
over
yeah.
these years. And, we actually have it numbered out over the every year. We can tell you where we were and how many we served. In terms of the intensive one-on-one, we're approaching the 20,000
Mhm.
kids that have had that life-changing work of helping,
Yeah.
education just to light up in front of them. I love listening to what it's like to be illiterate from our kids and also how it empowers them. And Jacob Dura is the one that said, you can be embracing STEM and STEAM and workforce programs, but if you don't address literacy, you're causing them to run faster towards the brick wall.
Yeah.
That's what that is. But then a little fifth grader once, he says, when you learn to read, you just know stuff.
Yeah.
They go out into the world and now they can read what's going on and they can read for other people around them.
Yeah, it opens up the world to
It
kids,
does.
that
Absolutely.
ability to read. All right, so those
Absolutely.
all those numbers are fantastic, but I know you'd like them to be, double that or triple that or 10 times the number that you've been able to impact so far.
Mhm.
So how do we do that?
Well, it really starts with funding. I mean, to get us in a school, I mean, many of the schools use their title and at risk dollars to bring us in. It's philanthropic funding still. General Motors has been just so dedicated to us, and that workforce piece. We're in Cody and Henry Ford. schools because of their funding, many family foundations. It starts with funding. The goal, really, I always let the need set the goal.
Sure.
We have 384,000 kids in middle high school in Michigan that need to learn to read. And we've divided that out over congressional districts. There's about 30,000 in each. And we would love to get going on a 5-year literacy plan. And so we need to identify that first year, what that is. But our goal is 384,000 kids over 5 years. And I would say what's in the way is, the belief that it can be done, but it's so important. We need to get started,
Yeah.
right? We need to get started, and we've shown that it works. The kids that we reach that first quarter will prove even to new funders that it works. We need the will. We need the will to tackle this outrageous, big problem. And we need to do it because our kids need us. And they are the future for everything that we've already built.
Yeah. Well, I hope that this is embraced, that it isn't just talk, on the state level in terms of priorities and allocation of dollars. But as you say, it takes more than that. It takes community. It takes, philanthropic and corporations and all of that. And I guess it takes us as individuals as well. And there are ways that we can help, right? Beyond Basics is a nonprofit. You accept certainly donations, financial, but you also are looking for those tutors, right? Those individuals who have some time, who want to make a difference. This is a great way to make a difference.
Absolutely. And our tutors love their work. This is very much community-based because you have kids in every school community. All of our areas have schools. And the tutors love their jobs. During the expansion, we had 270 tutors. So the people are everywhere. We train them in the curriculum. And so it is one way that people can donate their time. I say let's just throw out Congressional District 1 and 2. That was part of our expansion. Why don't we keep it going there? We have schools already who want us back, and we have philanthropic communities that could boost it. And then let us hire tutors in the communities, and let's demonstrate this in 1 or 2 of these congressional districts. This could be a beacon of light, a recipe for the nation. Just like Mississippi Miracle, we had them there talking about their K-3 work. I think educators should focus on K-3, fix it. But while they're doing that, let us work at the middle high school and flatten this curve and show other states that this is even possible so they can replicate it themselves.
Well, even you had your start in the one Detroit school. You're in other districts now, and even Joik Bell, who was
Joik's great.
Detroit Lion, went to Wayne State from Benton Harbor. He's taken the initiative to drive the program to Benton Harbor and making a difference in that community with Beyond Basics.
Absolutely. He's awesome. He's one of those rare individuals that saw it, vetted it, and pressed to roll it out. He was able to get Whirlpool, who's very involved in Benton Harbor, as part of that initiative, and we've learned so much from working with the students there also. It takes people, it's that action step. If it moves your heart, what I would say, step into it, and we just get going. And, if I would have known where doing more led, I would like to say too, our co-founder, Joanne Wagerson, she loved that Margaret Mead quote that says something about, that if you're going to change the world, it's a small group of concerned citizens. And the power is in each one of us, and others join us. And that's been our story. The power of one, and then another one, and then another one joins us. And look at how many lives that we've touched and empowered to go forward and do that.
My friend and former colleague at Channel 7, Carolyn Clifford, has done numerous stories on Beyond Basics and the work that you do. And she was moved to go through the program and become a tutor. And I remember working with one woman in particular to help her, get to a point where it would change her life.
Carolyn is a doer.
Yeah.
I love her. She basically was in a location where she learned that a 65-year-old woman couldn't read, and she was going to help her. And what happened is the woman was too embarrassed to have somebody else tutor her. So we trained Carolyn to be a tutor. And, she's helped her nieces in that too. But she's one of those that when your heart is moved, I say step into it. Just step in, and God will guide you on how to help someone. And he guides other people to come and help us. The people that have paved the way for us over the years, the foundations, the Line Weber Foundation, the Wayne and Joan Weber Foundation, Bert Farbman. And, I love Wayne and Bert because they had an 8th grade education, and here they're funding this, paying this forward. So every individual that has helped us make it to the next day, I am forever grateful. And, we just ask for more of you to join us and, let the governor know, let your congressman or woman know that this is doable to bring it to your community, and we will be happy to join you and guide the way.
Our districts, do you find most school districts, are they receptive? Are they encouraging? And clearly the funding piece is really important, but our school district superintendents, are they receptive and welcoming? Is there any kind of like, well, this is our thing, and we want to be protective of our thing, even if our thing isn't working?
Right. You have variations of that.
Yeah.
Educators are overwhelmed right now. We throw all kinds of things at them and they just catch it.
Yeah.
They don't really say, no, they're not going to do it. But what I will tell you is when we have the funding and we go somewhere, they're so thankful, right? Because they're also trying to spread their funds over a lot of different issues, and basic needs sometimes prevail and sometimes should, right? You will get an occasional, academic team that until they see it work, they have their doubts. And, that's human nature. So I would say when we come funded, they open their doors, they find a room, they give us the kids, and together we watch teachers now, right? Teachers can now do their jobs because we're sending literate kids into the classroom. So it's proven that the educators end up loving us and all we bring to their school too. So
we need them to embrace it. We need state government to embrace what's happening here, as you say. Be a beacon, be a bright light for the rest of this country, because this isn't limited to Detroit or the state of Michigan. There's a map on your website that shows the numbers, and the issue state by state, and it's everywhere.
Yes. I mean, what gets talked about right now around Michigan is that becoming more of a poverty state. Literacy changes that. Middle high is workforce development. If we wait for 3rd graders to graduate, that's a decade. I don't know that our nation can take another decade of this. We need to embrace it now, flatten the curve. And, I think of Stu Down now and that quote that he would say, get a kid reading and release that force into the world. We all had that benefit that we could navigate the world because we could read and make it a better place. And we need to empower our students to be able to do the same thing.
The website, beyondbasics.org.
Yes.
If you're moved by this conversation, if you're interested in learning more about Beyond Basics, the program, the opportunities there, and the opportunity to serve, to pitch in, it's all there, right?
It's all there. And I would say we have an event in National Reading Month. Our event is March 20th at the Detroit Athletic Club. And if you are a business out there and you want to invest in literacy for future workers, sponsor us. Become a sponsor at this annual event and empower us that way. And if you want to be a tutor, we have a place for you to sign up. And once again, reach out to your congressional leaders and to our governor and say, let's get going. Let's do this. There's a place for each one of us to help.
You're helping.
Yeah, thank you.
And you have been for years, and your entire team.
Yes, our team is amazing.
Yeah. Thank you for the time today. Thanks for discussing this very, very important topic as we begin 2026. And yes, hopefully, maybe this is kind of a new stake in the ground, that will allow us to move forward with this initiative.
Yeah, we'd love to do that with freedom.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pam, thanks.
Thank you.
Pamela Good
Thank
is the co-founder, CEO of Beyond Basics. My guest today on the Dave LewAllen podcast. BeyondBasics.org is the place to go. As always, we thank you for joining us on the Dave LewAllen podcast. You find us on YouTube, on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and through our partnership with WJR Radio at thegreatvoice.com. Stay safe. Until next time, we'll see you then.